Here's something no one tells you about being truly self-aware. The more you evolve, the more you grow, the more you heal, the more you see, the lonelier it can feel. Not because something is wrong with you, but because something is right with you that most people around you haven't caught up to yet. You've ever felt like your presence unsettles people, like your relationships never quite go deep enough, or like you're surrounded by others but still completely alone? This video is going to explain exactly why that happens. Stay until the end, because the seventh reason is the one that changes everything. There's a specific type of person. Psychologists sometimes describe them as highly sensitive, highly integrated, or operating with an unusually high degree of self-awareness, who almost consistently reports the same experience. Chronic loneliness. Despite having so much to offer, it's not that they push people away intentionally. It's not that they're difficult or damaged. It's that the level they're operating on is simply different. And difference, especially inner difference, creates distance. In this video, we're going to break down the 7 psychological and emotional reasons why deeply aware individuals often find themselves without close friendships, without partners, or without a sense of true belonging. And more importantly, what that actually means for where they're headed. Reason number 1. Their energy is constantly being drawn from, not replenished. Highly aware people tend to be naturally empathetic, emotionally attuned, and deeply present in conversation. This makes them magnetic. People who want to be heard, held, and understood, but who rarely return that level of presence. Over time, this creates an exhausting dynamic. The aware person gives and gives, feels the weight of everyone else's inner world, and walks away from interactions drained rather than energized. They don't become reclusive because they hate people. They become selective because they protect themselves. And that selectivity, that necessary boundary, shrinks their social circle dramatically. The psychological term for this is empathic overload, and it's one of the most overlooked reasons why emotionally developed people end up alone. Reason number 2. Very few people can meet them at their level. Here's the painful paradox. The more capable you are of supporting others emotionally, the less likely anyone around you is capable of supporting you in return. Deeply aware individuals often become the person everyone else turns to, the one who asks the right questions, who holds space, who offers perspective that cuts right to the heart of the issue. They're gifted at it. But when they need that same depth of support, they're met with surface-level responses. Generic advice, discomfort, redirection. This isn't cruelty. It's a gap. Most people simply haven't done the inner work required to hold space at that level. They haven't sat with their own darkness long enough to sit comfortably with someone else's. And so the deeply aware person learns, gradually and painfully, that processing their inner life means doing it largely alone. Through journaling, through solitude, through their own reflection. The isolation isn't abandonment. It's a structural reality of being someone who has outpaced the emotional vocabulary of most of the people around them. Reason number 3. They are in the middle of healing, and healing requires space. Deep self-awareness and unhealed wounds often coexist. In fact, it's frequently the wounds that create the awareness. Trauma has a way of forcing people inward, demanding introspection, building a kind of hard-won emotional intelligence that comfort never could. But healing, real, deep, cellular-level healing, is not a group activity. It requires silence, stillness, the willingness to sit with emotions that are uncomfortable and let them move through you without distraction. A relationship, even a good one, introduces constant external stimuli that can interrupt or delay that process. This is why many deeply aware individuals go through extended periods of chosen solitude. They're not retreating from life. They're doing the most important work of their lives. They're rewiring old patterns, releasing stored grief, and slowly dismantling the coping mechanisms that once kept them safe, but now keep them stuck. The loneliness during this period is real, but it's purposeful. It is the cost of becoming someone whole enough to eventually sustain the kind of relationship they actually want. Reason number 4. The relationship they need takes time to find. When your self-knowledge is deep, your standards, naturally and rightfully, rise. Not in an arrogant way. Not in a way that's about status or appearance or achievement, but in the most fundamental way, You know what a healthy relationship feels like, and you know what it doesn't. You've done enough inner work to recognize when chemistry is actually compatibility, and when it's just familiar dysfunction dressed up in excitement. That discernment is valuable, but it also means that most connections won't meet the threshold. Superficial attraction isn't enough. Shared interests aren't enough. Even genuine affection isn't enough if the other person isn't willing to go to the same depths, to be honest, to be vulnerable, to grow. Finding someone who meets you at that level isn't a matter of trying harder or putting yourself out there more. It's a matter of time, alignment, and, perhaps most critically, of both people being ready simultaneously. The waiting period isn't wasted time. It's the time you spend becoming someone who can sustain the relationship you're looking for, rather than sabotaging it the moment it arrives. Reason number 5. Past wounds have taught them to guard their heart. Most people who develop deep emotional awareness didn't arrive there peacefully. They were shaped by experiences that forced them to understand human behavior on a level others didn't have to. Betrayal, abandonment, relationships where love came with conditions, environments where vulnerability was met with punishment. These experiences don't just leave memories, they leave maps. The nervous system encodes the lesson. Getting close means getting hurt. Close. And so the deeply aware person learns to see potential danger before it arrives. They notice inconsistencies early. They feel the shift in someone's energy before it becomes visible behavior. This hypervigilance is a survival mechanism, but it also becomes a barrier. Because when you can sense trouble from a distance, you start pulling back before the other person even realizes what's happening. You protect yourself in ways that look, from the outside, like coldness or emotional unavailability, even when internally, you're aching for closeness. Healing this pattern isn't about lowering your guard. It's about learning, slowly, carefully, which people have actually earned the right to see the unguarded version of you. Reason number 6. They are being shaped for something that requires their full attention. There are periods in life where the universe, or circumstance, or the logic of your own development, pulls you out of ordinary life and into a process of transformation that demands everything you have. Career-defining work. A period of profound personal reinvention. It is the life for a season. Deeply aware individuals often find themselves in these seasons. The focused solitude becomes the container in which something new is built, not because of them, not because of you, but because timing is its own kind of intelligence. The convergence of two people at the right moment, both healed enough, both open enough, both clear enough, cannot be forced. Solitude, in this context, is not waiting. It is preparation. It is the forge. Reason number 7. The depth of their presence makes others confront themselves. Deeply self-aware individuals, simply by being who they are, create a kind of psychological mirror for the people around them. They don't do it consciously. They're not trying to expose anyone or challenge anyone. But their honesty, their refusal to engage in social pretense, their ability to see beneath the surface of what people say to what they actually mean, all of it creates an uncomfortable clarity. And most people, if they're honest, are not comfortable with that much clarity about themselves. So they keep their distance, not because they dislike the person. Often they're fascinated by them, even drawn to them. The deeply aware person's authenticity functions like a standard, even when no judgment is being offered. This is why the most self-aware people in any room can also be the most isolated in that same room. But because their presence alone creates a demand for authenticity that not everyone is willing to meet. Your solitude is not a sentence. The connections you're waiting for are real. The relationships that can hold the weight of who you actually are. They exist. But they can only find you when you stop shrinking to fit spaces that were never built for you. The loneliness is temporary. The depth you're developing is permanent. And everything you're building inside yourself, every layer of healing, every hard-won insight, every boundary you finally held, is the foundation that makes a real, lasting, soul-level connection possible. Don't rush it. Don't settle beneath it. You are exactly where people who are becoming something real tend to be, in the difficult, necessary middle of the process. If this resonated with you, leave a comment below. Share which reason hit closest to home. And if you're new here, subscribe. We cover the psychology of self-awareness, identity, and human behavior every week. Until next time, keep going.